Well, if Marconi is the father of radio, ladies and gentlemen, McVay is the godfather of radio. And thanks to a momentary lapse in good judgment, he joins me today. Mike McVay, legend. I mean, you have your own consulting company, Mike McVay Media, and you do so many things. I'm surprised that I actually got you at home because you're usually traveling here, there, and everywhere. Last time I saw you was in the Providence area for the Rhode Island TV and Radio Hall of Fame. Gene
Yep.
Valicenti was being inducted there. But you said something to me. I said, wow, I said, it's really great to see you. And you said, right off the bat, you said, I make it a point to come out to as many events as possible.
I do always. You got to be seen. So it's be everywhere, be seen everywhere. And that was a very special one. All the Rhode Island broadcasters there, and I'd consulted radio stations there for many years. And Gene Valicenti is such a legend in that market. And so it was very cool to come and see him be recognized.
No, it was a fun evening. Now let's go back a little bit. Let's step back in the not the way back because you're not that old. But at what point in your life did you realize that radio was it for you? Was that it kind of because I read an article recently about how radio broke your heart, but at some point you fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Start.
Yeah. And radio didn't really break my heart, but that article was kind of written about there's so many haters out there. And so when I'll write an article for Radio Ink magazine, there's always one or two people that just don't like anything. And so I sat down and thought about it, and I was like, you know what? These people were in love with radio, and now radio's broken their heart. In my case, I'm very lucky. I still love it. And I got into it when I was 15 years old. I'm from the Pittsburgh, PA area. My father worked on the Pennsylvania Railroad. My older brother was 7 years older than me. We could ride trains for free. And so the little town we lived in was about a 40-minute train ride out of Pittsburgh. And now and then my brother and I would use our passes and take a train into Pittsburgh. And right next to the train station in our little town was the radio station with a glass window. You'd see the DJ in there playing his records. Cowboy Phil was his name. And every now and then, while a record would be on, Phil would get up, walk out of the room. And I said to my older brother, and I was probably about 6 years old at the time, he was probably 13. And I said, where do they go? And he said, they go in the back room and they smoke and they play cards. And I remember thinking, I want to be in radio. That started it.
Okay. That's a cool story. I mean, because and it's interesting because you talk about how back then there was, the DJ with the glass. For so many years, people had no idea what the on-air talent, the DJ looked like, and it wasn't really until the inception of websites and they said, "Hey, we can put up a
Yeah.
profile picture," and then social media came along and blew everything wide open. But that was like kind of a mystery to the whole thing. That was kind of like this mystique.
Oh, yeah, unless your face was on a hit parade. We used to have these little paper things that would have the weekly top 30 or top 40, and they put those in record stores. And that was about it. So that's where the line came from. They have a face for radio. That's where the line originated.
As my wife used to use that line for me quite often. So, how many stations, if you had to estimate or just guesstimate, how many stations have you had? I mean, aside from, because you obviously you're a blogger, you're a contributor to so many different things, you go to so many different conventions. How many radio stations have you been in? Like actually walked in, seen, and like the building?
I have no idea. I've never thought about that. I know that during I started McVay Media in 1984. And so I have consulted or worked with 200 some radio stations.
Wow.
So I know I've been in that many. Probably maybe, I don't know, another 100. I
Wow.
have no idea. No idea.
I mean, and I don't say that's just to blow smoke at you, but you're literally a living legend when it comes to this stuff because you have been involved in so many different things. You've had so many experiences. Back to the days when you were talent, on-air talent. What was your most positive, memorable experience in radio?
There's so many of them, but I would say at age 24, believe it or not,
Which was only 5 years
I,
ago.
yeah, right. I was hired as a program director in Los Angeles. And the air talent we had were, when I first got there, the real Don Steele was doing afternoons, and Charlie Tuna was across the street. Steele retired. We moved Jack Armstrong from the mornings to the afternoon, put Charlie Tuna in the morning. And so we had Machine Gun Kelly, not the rapper, the
Right, right, right.
DJ who was there first,
The original.
the original. But we had Machine Gun Kelly and Charlie Tuna and Jackson Armstrong and Nancy Plum and Joe Nasty, Andy Barber. I mean, there's amazing talent. And another guy and I, even though I was the PD, I wanted to be on the air still. And so I did a weekend shift, and this other guy did a weekend shift. And so that was probably the most fun I had being on in Los Angeles. It was just a lot of fun. And the other guy, by the way, used the name Beaver Cleaver, but in real life, he is Ken Levine.
Okay.
And so Ken Levine was head writer of MASH, Frasier, Everybody Loves Raymond, on and on. But to the area from where you're from originally, he also is, as his hobby, is a color analyst in baseball.
Oh,
And
cool.
he still does pre and post game for the Dodgers in LA. But when he started doing his baseball run, he started with the Pawtucket Red Sox and went to the Toledo Mud Hens, to the Baltimore Orioles, to the Mariners, to the Padres, then to pre and post for the Dodgers. That was his part-time job in addition to writing hit TV shows.
Wow. So you have had such a career. You've been on air, you've been program director, you station, you've done all these different things. What do you love now about the role as a consultant and really just an industry leader, an industry influencer, just a thought leader? Because so many people look to you to kind of help steer the ship of this industry, which, let's face it, gets stormy at times, but
Yeah.
by and large, it touches practically every human in the country because everybody gets in a car at some point.
I'm really pragmatic, and I'm sure in your career and those who are hearing or watching this will have come across consultants at times that stroke their beards and they try to be professorial. Um, and that's not me. I mean, my approach is here are things I've learned, be it from looking at research, be it from being in the field and seeing what works and what doesn't. Um, and so I'm a Sherpa. I'm here to guide you up the mountains.
Okay.
And that's what I enjoy doing the most. I mean, all parts of it. I love coaching talent the most, but I love music. And so on music stations, I enjoy getting to work with the music. I love promotion and marketing. You've met me wearing a coat and tie. I always say to the people that have not seen me, I wear a silk pocket square because I'm all about flash and trash. And so when it comes to promotion and marketing, I love big sound on the air. I love, those sound effects that create an illusion, that create a picture. And I don't like contests. I like experiences.
Okay.
I like giving the audience something that they just can't get anywhere else. And so from that, I would answer your question by saying I probably enjoy being a teacher the most. That's the best part of it.
Now you have so many different fields and so many different things that you do. If people go to your website, they can find all the different, services and the team you work with, and which is mostly you, but you do have some pretty trusted advisors and people in your inner circle there. You do talk about podcasting, which this is part of VOD, Pod, and all that other stuff in content creation.
Yeah.
what where do you see that side of the industry going as far as because everybody wants to have a podcast, and I mean there's probably over a million of them, but is that something that you think feeds the radio machine? Do you think it kind of levels off? How do you see that?
Yeah, I don't think that you can point at radio today and say it's a machine and there's things feeding it. radio's part of it. And so I think the way we have evolved and will continue to evolve is it's about audio. And so audio would include over-the-air radio, HD channels, streaming channels, DSPs, which are those things like Spotify. Um, I'm sure, you can already get Sirius XM on the stream. At some point when those satellites are up, why renew them? Because today we can get the internet in our cars. And so I think that it's really about audio, and podcasting is an important part of that. Podcasting is really just audio on demand. And in a lot of ways, it's audio books. I mean, if you remember back to the days of books on audio,
Sure.
um, those are podcasts. And so, I think audio is just about what appeals to you at that exact moment when you want to hear something. We know that people today program their own radio stations, be that hitting buttons on an over-the-air radio or an app on a phone, or going seamlessly from a podcast to an over-the-air station to a Spotify. And that's the new platform. It's very much a level playing field. And by the way, the level of competition is going to continue to increase. There will be more and more distractions. At some point, there will be a culling of the herd, meaning that not all these big DSPs can survive. Some of them will go away. But it's not lost on me when you see that during the pandemic, Netflix went like this, and now you see that they're having financial trouble. Or that you read that Spotify has never generated an annual profit. They've never had 12 months where there's been a profit. A lot of that's because of increased competition. There's more choices. And so, in the days where someone like me with gray hair can remember when there were 6 AM stations and 6 FMs in a market, and nobody really listened to FM, or they might have one FM station, it was easy to have great big ratings because you didn't have to be that good. Today, that's not a luxury. The level of competition is really high. And so there's no luxury there that will allow someone who's not really good to be successful.
Winter into spring, you will be going from different conferences. You'll be speaking at different conferences where you'll be talking to a country audience, switching then to a sports audience, then perhaps, the morning boot camp, those different. What is that thread, that constant thread across all the different, genres that you really pick up on?
Yeah, it depends on the format, actually. I mean, if it's a music formatted radio station, there are some strong similarities across the brands, be it rock, classic rock, country, soft rock, adult contemporary. Um, and that is that the listener is looking for companionship and their favorite songs. And so, that means that air personalities need to be authentic. They need to be able to tell great stories. If there are stations that play current music, they need to have some musical knowledge to be able to talk about those artists or the songs. If it is a sports station, great sports stations stay away from politics. They just focus on stories that appeal to men, which includes sports. One of the mistakes that some sports stations make is thinking that everything they do should be about sports, but not really. It's sports and bars and cars and family and women, the things that interest the average person. A sports station can talk about the movie Oppenheimer. You just need to use that as the little bit of seasoning on the steak, which is still sports.
Sure.
For news talk stations, it's a little bit about a lot of things. And so whatever people are relating to or talking about, those stations need to focus on it. What is different in my approach on news talk is that I believe local talent should talk about local topics. If it's a big national topic, it has to be something the people in the market care about. If you're going to talk about the same thing Sean Hannity's talking about, then you need to figure out how to bring that topic back to your community.
Sure.
And all too often in a market, I hear local talent emulating what they hear on the big national network talent. And nobody needs the local talent to do that. If that's going to be your approach, then your radio station might as well put on a syndicated radio program.
I thank you for your time today. I got one last question for you. What breaks your heart more? Bad decisions from program directors or bad play calling from the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Well, if it's a radio station I'm consulting, then it would be the bad decisions made by program directors. But if I'm not consulting it, then it's definitely the Steelers. All the way, Steelers.
Well, listen, Mike McVay, folks, if you haven't had a chance to follow what he does, even if you're not deep into radio, the fact of the matter is this guy right here has had a major impact on what you listen to in the car. When everything else fails, the radio is still there and it's free. So you can't beat that. It's a beautiful thing as well. So, Mike McVay, thank you so much for your time. I wish you all the best as we get into the spring and summer. Safe travels, as I know you. Are you like the top level member of whatever airline you fly? They should just give you your own jet.
At one time I was on United. I was the fourth biggest, not anymore. But at one time I made it to number 4.
Well, you need to have that time at home so you can enjoy it with those grandkids. That's the key to life right there. Mike McVay, thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated, good sir.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it.